Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo. I'm President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It is with great honor that I welcome our next Houston legend. I have known him since I was about 15 years old, and he absolutely made such a huge impact, not only on my life, but on so many others. He was one of the first Houstonians, the first Hispanic Houstonians that I saw in person, on television, advocating for Hispanics. He was at the table. He had a very strong presence. He was highly regarded and respected. He went on to become Assistant Chief of the Houston Police Department and the United States Marshal, Southern District of Texas, something no one had done during his time. He has contributed in so many ways to our great city, and this is why the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is naming him one of our Houston legends. Welcome.
Thank you, Laura. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it is a pleasure to have you here. I have been one of your biggest fans. It is so important that we see people that look like us. It was so important in the days that you were doing it, a very sometimes tumultuous time in our city.
Yes, it was.
And especially with the police department. You had an extraordinary career, come from Baytown to the big city, and you did some things that no one before you had done. So before we get into that part, I want to know a little bit more about your arrival here in Houston and what you thought you were going to do in this big city when you came here.
Well, first of all, why did I become a police officer? My dad was very specific. He said to change the system, you have to work within it.
Okay.
And he says, hopefully you'll get in a position, because when I told him I want to be a police officer, he says, hopefully you'll get to the position where you can make positive change. He says, but when you have the opportunity, don't you just do it. And that's my whole. He was a tremendous mentor for me.
What did your dad do? What did he do?
He worked for back then Humble Oil, then it was Exxon.
Okay.
But he retired from Exxon.
So was anyone else in the police department?
Not really. He did volunteer work with the police department.
Okay.
So, but he was very much of a community leader.
Okay.
He was very involved in the political process.
Yes.
He was one of the first Hispanic, the precinct judges. Back when you had to pay a poll tax, he would encourage people. In fact, he would even pay poll tax sometimes for people, just for them to get involved.
So what did your mother think when you told her you wanted to become a police officer?
She was really kind of hesitant, worried about me, because the relationship with the Hispanic community and the police department was not good, to say the least.
Yeah.
So she was definitely worried about me.
Yes.
So,
And so you came to Houston, you became a police officer with the intention of moving up the ranks?
moving up the rank.
Yes. So what do you think was key to you moving up?
I think that to me, Houston was it was a tremendous opportunity for me to come in, because I saw the promotional process that they had. I knew that was my forte. I could beat it. I
Okay.
could beat the system and work myself up,
Yes.
which I did eventually. So I reached into the rank of assistant chief, but really I had a tremendous ride. I've been truly blessed. Had a great working relationship with the community, not only the Hispanic community, but as assistant chief, I was pretty much charged with interfacing with all of the various cultures that make up this great city. Mm-hmm. And that to me, they did me a favor, because I met so many key leaders in the various communities in the city. And I changed some of the way that we train police officers. I brought community leaders from these various communities to really educate our police officers.
Yes.
As to the different variants, and really the way you work with the community, the more you realize we have a lot more in common than we do differences.
Yes.
So it was great to have the police officers get to know other people different than themselves.
And you did that so well at a time, once again, I want to emphasize, there were maybe just a handful of you, Dr. Dorothy Caram at that time, Dr. Lupita Quintanilla, our friend Johnny Mata.
Yeah.
You guys were at the forefront
Well,
of...
Lupita was very critical, very
Yes.
essential to implement our bilingual program.
Yes.
In fact, passed legislation allow the police department to pay police officers bilingual pay, shift differential pay.
Yes.
Of course, that cost me a promotion, but it was worth it.
It was worth it, and let me tell you, because you may not know this, how so many things are connected that you've done that you're not aware of. So doing that, Dr. Lupita Quintanilla at Baker Ripley House at the
Right.
time, she had a program for non-Spanish speaking police officers. They could go to Ripley House,
Right.
and they would have tutors working with the police officers to help them with some basic Spanish. She recruited me, and one of the police officers said, "We have a scholarship, you should apply for it." And I did, and that was one of my first scholarships to go to the University of Houston. Came from the Houston Police Officers Association.
As a result of that program, let me give you just briefly that we had a police officer that was involved in that program, and he got a call about a burglary in the building.
Yes.
So it had to turned out to be it was a bakery. He shows up, and the individual who was there mixing flour and stuff, and he asked him in Spanish, what dice, ¿qué estás haciendo aquí? He said, tenemos una boda. And then he really, had he not been able to speak Spanish, heaven forbid, he might have confused him for a burglar and ended up with a real tragedy. So,
Oh no.
but that was a program that was needed,
Yes.
and really,
Yeah.
now we have several. I mean, five languages that I'm aware of that get paid bilingual pay, because Houston is a very diverse city.
Absolutely. And so now, in this phase of your life, as you look back, what are some of the things that you're proudest of? Because you've been involved in so many things.
Some of the training that we implemented in the police department, because I was over HR, that in truth was part of the police department, was essentially the police academy. But some of the training that we engaged in, we had when I was a captain in the Northeast, the first storefront was on Lads Avenue to get the police officers closer to the community. I work with all the key leaders in that community, and that's like I said, I met a lot of tremendous leaders there.
Yes.
And here again, the more you get to know people, the more you realize we have a lot more in common than differences.
Yes.
So they even had the ladies would every Thanksgiving and Christmas they would have a big fiesta for the police officers there at the
Yes.
community center.
Yes.
So I hope I made a difference by being here, and I look back and reflect some of the changes that were made in recruiting, because there was the Hispanic. You look at the command staff now;
Yes.
it's extremely diverse.
Yes.
I mean, which is to me, when I see that,
Yes.
he says that needed to happen.
And you were part of that
Yes.
in being the first and opening these doors. And so many people that I've talked to remember you as that individual that wasn't there for himself. You were there for our community, and you understood that it was important to interface with other communities,
Yes.
not just Hispanics.
No, it was definitely because really we look at you have to police the city as a whole. You
Yes.
can't segment individual communities and treat them differently, and when you look at the Hispanic and the African American community, relatively speaking, they're the youngest group of people in the city.
Yeah.
So you have to prepare police officers to understand
Yes.
how to deal with people that are different than themselves.
Yeah.
So
And then you move on, you get a big promotion.
I was appointed.
You're appointed.
President Clinton appointed me to be the U.S. Marshal for the Southern District of Texas. I met a lot of people in the Valley.
Yes.
Got a tremendous opportunity to meet all the attorney generals from the northern districts of Texas. But there's a way to do business. There's the real buy the book and everything, and it takes forever. But when you deal with other people and they get to know you, and you can pick up the phone.
Yes.
And if I have a fugitive in Mexico, I can call the Attorney General directly and tell them, hey, we have information, so and so is it, and they would deliver the individual to the bridge. So, like I said, there's different ways of working with people, but the more you know about the other cultures, the better off you're going to be, especially in law enforcement.
So as you reflect now, as someone who Open Doors was the first, often the only Latino in the conversation at the table. And you look around Houston especially, do you see that we've made some strides as leaders?
We have, but we still have a little way to go because there's some residual discrimination out there that I would say that overall, especially our younger people, they've gone to school with Hispanics, African Americans, Asians, so they pretty well get along with each other. It's some of the older generations still harbor some problems dealing with people that are different than themselves, but I can tell you, especially with the immigrant community, they hear all these people lambast. They don't understand that the more of like I said, relatively speaking, it's a younger community, and the more of the Hispanics that are in the workforce, the better prepared Social Security is going to survive.
Yes.
So, and you look at that, and you have to look at issues in very pragmatic terms. That's what I did. You can see by the letter of the law, but at the same time, police work is done operates in a gray area. You have tremendous discretion as to how you apply that.
Mm-hmm. So as we wrap up, we look back at your life and your legacy, your grandchildren, your family. What would you like your legacy to be?
Well, hopefully they can see when I've run my course, because like I said, I've had a tremendous ride. But that whenever they can look back and they say, well, he made a difference.
And you have. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us on Houston Legends.